You've probably heard the story about how in 1519, when Cortez got to the New World, he burned the ships, basically telling all of his men that there was no plan B, there was no retreat. They were either going to make it or they were going to die right there, right then. Now, there's some historical inaccuracies to this story, and this idea of burning of the ships became the most common one, mainly because it sounds really cool. They burned the ships, but Cortez really did have a real problem. He was dealing with deserters, and he wanted to figure out a way to make them stay in service and stay the line. Basically, stay with the mission, put the mission first. And so it's generally thought that really what they did was they drilled holes and they blamed it on these mollusks, and they said, hey, these ships aren't seaworthy anymore. And that's when he basically ordered everything off of the ships that was of value, and they ended up defeating the Aztecs. Now, here's the really interesting part of this story. And by the way, my name is Pete Mitchell with AI Lead Automation. If you like this video and the other videos that I put together for you, go ahead and like and subscribe to our channel. My goal is to help real estate agents really do well in their business by getting a lot more business by improving their marketing. But here's the really interesting thing about Cortez. Cortez was not born into the upper levels of nobility. He wasn't quite a commoner, but he was of lesser nobility, shall we say. And here's the thing, you got to understand, it's hard for us to get our minds around this, but in that day and age, who you were born to, where you were born, that kind of laid out a path. Like, were you going to be successful, or were you going to live a life of just desperation, never really getting ahead, just kind of scraping by? I mean, it was a totally different world than we have today. And there is something that happens when you got your back against the wall and you are not of nobility. Like, I'm not a Kardashian. You're not a Kardashian. We don't have that nobility to us. If we're going to make something happen in our lives, we got to actually go out there, do the work, and make it happen. So here's Cortez, and he does a lot of trips back and forth. And in fact, at one point, the governor, I think it was of Cuba, like, he sent men to go arrest Cortez, and Cortez defeated those men, and the ones that survived, he basically enlisted them and got them to start working for him. I mean, you got to imagine the charisma that this guy must have had. And that was before they ended up doing the whole, hey, you know what? Let's burn the ships, or really, like I said, drill holes in the ships, blame it on the mollusks, and, there's no plan B, there's no retreat. But like I said before, he had a genuine issue, a problem that he had to solve. All these people were defecting. And here's the thing. In real estate, the majority of agents are part-time. The vast majority of agents are part-time. In fact, I know what they're thinking. They all think the same thing. Hey, you know what, man? You look at these commissions. If I can just do one sale a month, or, sometimes it's, hey, if I can do one sale a quarter, think about how different my life will be. Think about how much more money I'll make. And so what happens is they kind of just stick their toe in the water. Hey, I'm just barely going to dip into this whole real estate thing. And, hey, if it takes off, great. If it doesn't, well, I got a plan B. In fact, I work for one of the largest, I should say I work for them. I'm their consultant when it comes to all the things marketing, real estate coaching companies. And whenever they have agents that need help with their marketing, I'm the guy that they'll have them talk to. And it's interesting because I will sometimes talk to the coaches for them, and they'll say, well, here's this particular agent, and they've actually really never done any business, but they got a spouse that makes a lot of money, and that's, basically what's funding them. I'm like, interesting. So they got a spouse that's funding them. I don't know how many agents I've talked to that have day jobs, and they're kind of like doing this as a hobby. It's on the side, and they don't really make it in real estate. See, there's something about when you got your back against the wall and you got to make things happen. You either make them happen or you just stop lying to yourself and you give up on the dream. You're like, all right, this real estate thing's not for me. I got to go find something else. That happens all the time when your back is against the wall. But when your back's not against the wall, when you haven't burned the ships, when you haven't drilled the holes and said, hey, you know what, there's no retreat. There's a retreat. There's a plan B. And when you got a plan B, you take it. One of my old college housemates, we lived in a house together, good friend. He ended up, he always said he wanted to be a Navy SEAL, right? From the first time I met him, I want to be a Navy SEAL. In fact, I met him as a freshman in college. He was a high schooler, and he was visiting our university on one of those high school visitation weekend type things. And he had just gone to this military expo and seen all these military guys do all this crazy stuff. He was like, man, I want to be a Navy SEAL, I want to be a Navy SEAL. And of course, all of us college guys are like, dude, Navy SEALs shoot lightning bolts out their eyes, right? Like, you're just this little pipsqueak high schooler. You're not gonna be a Navy SEAL. Well, he ends up coming to college, ends up actually graduating from college, and enlists in the Navy. And he goes on and he becomes a Navy SEAL. In fact, he goes on and becomes such a good Navy SEAL that he gets put on SEAL Team 6. And in fact, he's so good on SEAL Team 6, he ends up being on the mission that got bin Laden. And in fact, he ended up writing a book about it. I believe it's called The First-Hand Account of the Mission That Killed Osama bin Laden. And he wrote the book under the name Mark Owen. And I got to talk to him over the years, and I still talk to him every once in a while now. Usually it's through DM and things like that. But what was interesting, I was listening to an interview that he did with another ex-Navy SEAL. And he was talking about when he went into the Navy, like, you can like say, hey, this is the type of job I'd like to get. And so he like thought to himself, what's the one thing I absolutely don't want to do? Like, it would be miserable for me to do that job. And I don't remember what it was, but whatever it is, that's what he signs up for. And the reason why he did that is because he knew that if he failed out of SEAL team training, if he failed out of BUDS training, that's what he was going to go back to. He didn't want a plan B. He didn't want I can retreat to this thing over here. I can finish out my time in the Navy and at least it's not miserable. He wanted it to be miserable. So he had one choice: go all in, all the way. In fact, one of my good buddies, a really good salesman, has gone into real estate. He got his real estate license. He lives in Florida. And I'm not kidding, man. Within a month, he's already got a buyer under contract. He's got multiple buyers coming to him. He's got his first listing coming up because it's only been like 6 weeks since he got licensed as I'm doing this video. And I remember we had a conversation right before he got licensed. And I was like, here's the thing, man. If you're going to go into real estate, because for the last 20 years, I've been working with realtors. I go, don't stick your toe in the water. Go into it full bore. Go into it like, this is my deal. I'm going to make it or I'm going to die trying. And so far, that's the attitude he's taken. And that's why so far, he's done more than most agents ever will do, ever in their career. And he's just in it 6 weeks. In some ways, he's burned his ships. Have you burned your ships? Or do you have a plan B? Do you have I can retreat and do this thing over here? If you do, you're never going to make it. Because in the back of your mind, you're like, I got a plan B. I can make it out of this thing. Take away your plan B. Take away your way to retreat and say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go for it. And there's no one who's going to stop me from doing it. If you'd like to see what we do, which has nothing to do with burning your ships, it has everything to do with getting your business, check out agentfollowupai.com. I put up a great little video there where you can go check it out. See all about our system, all that type of stuff. If you like it, great. If you don't, at least give you some great ideas and help you on your path. But it's for people who've decided they're going to burn the ships. They're going to go for it. They're not going to give themselves a plan B.